This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Judah, this is really fun for me because I've known you practically your whole life, and it's exciting to see you be so successful in a music career with Judah and the Lion. And how did that all come to be? How did that happen?
Yeah, so we all went to Belmont University, and I was there on a baseball scholarship, and just like my high school days back in Cookeville, I was just like kind of your typical. Maybe not typical jock, but was definitely there because of baseball. And I loved the music business program that we went into, but those are two different kind of outlets, I guess, if you will, at Belmont, because there's definitely the liberal arts part of Belmont, which is everybody's hyper creative and very talented, and it's almost kind of intimidating when you come in. But as like a sports player, like all this, like that makes in return, like all the sports people just like really connect. So I kind of had these two different personalities, I guess, if you will, at Belmont. And my junior year, I kind of started to get more serious about just like writing music. I was in the music business program, which is kind of like mostly business classes with your side of like music production classes. And so I started writing these songs, and I kind of really honestly got convicted about just like not ever doing anything with them. Just
right.
Like I have all these songs, I feel like I'm not really using that part of a thing that I had a part of me, if that makes sense. And I was playing with like a rock worship band at the time, and it was not really the style that I was writing in. Just the songs just never really worked, and so anyways, I was like, well, I'll just see if this is the perfect place to be in, and I'll see if there's a banjo player, mandolin player, you know, just kind of in that vein. And sure enough, a friend of a friend was friends with our banjo player, Nate, and called him one day, and I was just like, hey man, I know you a little bit, because he was kind of a character on campus, if you will. He's got the long beard, and he looks like a homeless man, like, for sure. Everybody's always kind of like wondering where he was and on campus and stuff, and so but he's like a sweetheart, and so he just said, yeah, that sounds good, let's jam out or whatever. And I was like, well, if you have anybody else that you want to bring along, just like that plays in your vein, I'm just not really familiar, because I wasn't like in the music department world, I was more like in the business department world. And so he'd played a lot with Brian, our mandolin player, and so he just had him along, just randomly. We went and got lunch, and then just like really connected on a personal level, just like kind of had similar paths. We kind of grew up playing in church, and loved writing music and playing, and like they really wanted to perform. I was really wanting at the time to come back home, maybe lead worship or something like that, and or stay in Nashville and do that.
Right.
Well, we went to the Bell Tower and played through a couple songs, and little did I know, like they did kind of stereotype me a little bit into this baseball realm of the world. The world, just like they were not expecting anything to come out of this jam session. And but after
they
the
were
first,
just being nice. They just thought, oh, this baseball player wants to come play some music.
Yeah, I think that they heard that like I was like a nice guy or something, or but that I was still kind of like a jock to them, which is completely fair. And we really I had no intention of starting a band or anything. Like we just wanted to get together and jam and see. I wanted to see these songs if they come to life with the banjo and the mandolin. And for me, they really did. And for them as well. After the fact, after a couple of days, I found out it was the same kind of feeling.
And that was several years ago.
Yeah, that was 2012. No, December 2011. I forget the specific. Like my mom wants to get about dates, but
Yeah.
I just say early 2012.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like right in the middle of my junior semester.
So you're talking about Brian McDonald and Nate Zerker? Zerker.
Yeah.
And Brian's, you even though you had similar backgrounds in sort of praise worship music, but you're all from different places, right?
Yeah, very different backgrounds. It's like we kind of talk about it. It's kind of funny. Like we don't really know like what we were thinking, to be honest, because we just kind of started a band, and if you know anything about being in a band, it's almost like it's not like this now that I'm married, but it feels like a marriage almost, because you're talking about money and how you deal with the money that you're sharing, and you talk about, are we gonna have these lyrics in this, or are we like what this is all representing us, and like you're living pretty much out of a van together, you know, and you're like spending every waking hour, you know, it's pretty crazy that we just kind of like jumped into it at the start. But I don't know, for whatever reason, like Brian's from Wheaton, Chicago, which is a suburb right outside of Chicago, or Wheaton, Illinois, and he's just like the most talented individual, just kind-hearted, just go with the flow, kind of daredevil, you know, carefree, crazy dude in the band, and they were both the only mandolin and banjo major at Belmont.
Is that right?
So Nate was the first banjo major ever. They just like invented a major for him.
Wow.
They both started out on guitar performance. Then they switched over to their respective instruments. And then Nate's this Colorado Springs guy, you know, is kind of the bearded, like loves Denver Broncos, like just pride about that, and does this he's like so good with people, and just the way he interacts with our fans is just like so inspiring, to me, and just like I don't know, it just works. I don't know why or how, but.
Well, it sounds like it was meant to be. I mean, really,
very
sounds
much
like
so.
It was meant to be. So, how do you? So, first of all, what is the lion? How did you come up with your name, Judah? Obviously, Judah is your name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's inspired from the Old Testament scripture, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and I think when we were naming the band, it was like the second or third week that we'd even known each other, you know, and you're like trying to come up with a name that you can agree on. And I said the one stipulation I had was just the name Judah had to be in the name, because I hadn't heard that before in a band, and the meaning of that is like praise. And so, you know, I just kind of wanted it to be that at the center of who we were, because it really is at the center of, you know, who we are as people, and then we kind of got attached to like this whole thought of like a lion. So we thought like Judah the lion, Judah's lion, you know.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Judah and the lion just clicked. So, and it kind of rhymes with our names, Judah, Nate, and Brian, Judah and the lion. So it's like, we were like, that's cool, like whatever.
That is cool. That is cool. So you've got two EPs, First Fruits and Sweet Tea, which Sweet Tea really, I read, hit the Billboard charts on numerous levels in the top 20. It was number 2 on the Bluegrass Billboard, right? And also you were first on the iTunes. You got number 1 on iTunes, singer-songwriter with that. And incredible song. It's just really, it's very sweet. It's really meaningful. And so, and of course you're from Cookeville, Tennessee. Yeah. So how about that? How did you write that song? How do you write? Do you hear it in your head first, or do the lyrics come first?
That song is actually kind of funny. I was actually on vacation with all my baseball buddies in it's Paul's Island, South Carolina. And so I was in South Carolina when I was writing the song, and they just had this old janky, like just really crappy guitar at this place that we were staying at, and but I love the way it sounded. Like there's something about like old, just terrible guitars that just make it sound awesome. And I started playing like the melody or whatever of the song, and it's like I want to have like a song about Tennessee and about just like the hills and like the feeling that I get like in Cookeville or at Burgess Falls or at B-Rock, like when we used to go up there. Like, what does that look like? So for that one, it was just, I came up with like the Sweet Tennessee. I had this Sweet Tennessee, like Sweet Tennessee. And I kind of just spun off that. And like, it was literally like all week I was singing that song, trying to hash it out. And so my baseball friends still to this day are like, gosh, I'm so tired of that song after like the first week of just like writing it. So I think it's always different, like as far as the way I write. Sometimes I hear the melody and I hear like, like it just sounds like gibberish, you know, you're singing just nonsense. And then sometimes you kind of come up with a lyric and you're like, I really want this lyric. It's kind of poetic or whatever, and it feels like something that I would want to say to people. And then you just kind of fit that into a melody. So it's kind of different. I don't know, I like what I've learned definitely is that there is no formula to writing. Yeah. It's just, you just do it. That makes sense.
Do you just force yourself to do it, or does it come?
So a lot of people, like some of my favorite writers, like Dylan and even like John Foreman, like really believe in writing every single day. Like, love writing every single day. I cannot operate like that. Yeah. I have to be inspired or moved or certain thing hit me right or whatever to be able to do it, which is good for me. Is like I'm kind of inspired a lot, and so I end up writing all the time. I think like a lot of the Sweet Tennessee record I actually wrote during baseball practice.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, I don't know, we're like bored out there playing baseball. It's like something hit me right. You know?
That's a good thing.
So
Fun.
yeah, but yeah, I think if I wrote every single day, it would drive me nuts. Yeah. You know, it's just like it would feel like more like a job than, which it is a job, but
it's more fun to do it your way.
Yeah, it's more creative just to be inspired. I want to be inspired by my music. So if it's not really inspired when I write it, it's like it just.
So you mentioned a couple of influences. Who else influences you? You mentioned a couple of musical influences. Yeah,
so my family is so funny. My mom is the good music side of me, I would say. I'll explain my dad later. But my mom is like the Tom Petty and the Queen and REO Speedwagon and REM and like all these like classic like NXS and these classic 80s, 70s bands. Yeah. I mean, obviously Beatles and U2 and the cult, like whatever. But she had all these like great like songwriters feelings that I loved like growing up, and a journey, you know, all the good bands, I would say, like, and I'm sure there's some indie bands out there that she still likes that she never showed us. But then my dad was like, on the other side of it was like the hip hop and like the Gap Band and like, I hate to say it, but like 50 Cent and like all these like just random hip hop artists. And of course we had like the Christian influences, you know, as well. That's kind of, I guess, a given for my family, if anybody knows anything about my family. But yeah, we had this like really like, you hop in dad's car and you're gonna get like dance music, like top 40, and then like hip hop. Yeah. And you hop in mom's car, it's gonna be kind of like, you know, old school, great, like, yeah, REM, REO Speedwagon, like Losing My Religion or whatever. Yeah. So.
And I know your family is very important to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You want to share just a little bit about that? I know your grandparents and you've got a brother and sister, and of course, and a wife.
Yeah, and it's so awesome. Like I love, honestly, like my family has had the biggest impact, you know, on my life. But I would say for Cookeville as well. It's just coming out of, I mean, Mr. Shote was pretty much my music director, music coach my whole life. And I remember like him being like the first one to ever tell me like, you can do this. Like I know you have the whole sports thing going on, but like, I really believe in your music ability. And I just like, I'd heard it from my mom, you know.
Yeah.
But like,
But your
that
mom
doesn't
said it.
count. And I knew, like, I mean, he's obviously so talented and like knows music so well. It just like marked me. I remember that day in high school. It kind of like set me down. I was like, this is serious. I'm not used to seeing Mr. Show like, I'm used to seeing him like kind of sassy.
And you're talking about
fun.
Michael Schote, who's a public school music teacher.
Right. Yeah, they're at the high school now.
Yeah.
And so in that, and then the people at Church on the Hill were a huge impact on my life. I mean, when we were, my mom still has a video of the first time I ever like sang a song live, and it was the like absolute worst thing you could ever hear. Like I like it's hard to watch. It's like so hard to watch. It's miserable. But literally after every time I would play, like just so encouraging. Keep it up.
Great.
That was awesome. You know, and I don't know. Like I still say that like there's no way. I don't think I would have ever pursued like the music business degree or like been inspired to do music if it wasn't for the people back home that were that encouragement, I guess, starting out.
You know, that means a lot to say that it's so that people encourage you, and it means a lot for a young person to hear that. I know. How does it feel to play at home?
So it's so like us individually, especially because like I said, Brian's from Wheaton. We actually play a lot in Chicago, in like that area, and then there's like such a like brightness that comes out of Brian, you know, when we're in Chicago, and then, you know, respectively for Nate when we're in Colorado Springs. There's this like just like joy. I think for me too, it's like it's not. It makes it like it's kind of you're kind of nervous, like more nervous I think in your hometown because I don't know. I've always said that it's never intimidating to play in front of 3,000 people or 4,000 people that you don't know. But you reverse that and you play in front of all of your high school friends, and then granted, like I don't know everybody there, but Cookeville is such a tight-knit community where somebody knows somebody that knows your family or something like that. So it feels like you better bring it, you know, when you come to Cookeville, and so, but it's so fun, like, you know, just to be with family and then to have your grandparents and your uncles and your cousins and everybody there, and then you do get to see like all of your old friends that you haven't really caught up with or you haven't seen in a while. And so I don't know, there's something kind of magical about playing your hometown.
Oh, I think so. I think so. So you're recently married. You want to tell me how you met your wife and tell about her?
Yeah, she was actually in our friend group there at Belmont. She was a Belmont student as well. She's a songwriting major starting out, and so she was kind of in our. We really kind of had a tight knit like community over there, just like among the band and among the people, the good friends that were outside of the band, and so we would always get together for bonfires or whatnot. The first time I met her, I remember thinking that she was like way younger than what she was. I thought she was like a 16-year-old, like high school friend of of one of our friends.
She looks
so
very
I
young.
was like, dang it, I don't need to look. I was like checking myself. It's like I can't check her out. But little I know, she was a freshman and 18, 19.
Yeah, right. So it was okay.
And we became like great, like good friends. Like I would say, texting friends. She didn't know that I had a crush on her, and she didn't like me at all, and which was great and not really great for me, but great for the story. And so actually, like just like over a matter of like 2 years of like kind of having this like crush that nobody knew about. Finally, I guess I mustered up the courage to ask her out, and we went out on a date, and I was like head over heels in love. Called my mom after the first date and said I'm gonna marry her. You know, like just kind of like no, I don't know, just like I'd never
new.
had that feeling before.
Right.
And for her, it was a little bit different. I think if I would have told her that the first day, she would have probably ran for the hills. But after a few weeks of dating, she liked me. So
That's great.
the rest is history now. I trapped her.
She's married.
Got her.
She has to listen to your music all the time,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, she wasn't a fan of the music before. I always give her a hard time. She came to a show in Knoxville, and then she said, "Oh, now I get this." After a lot of shows.
How funny.
But she's so talented, and she's the best songwriter I know. And so it is kind of like, I know she does like good music. So
And
hopefully for
she's-
this next record, she'll come around.
The next record is the next record Kid These Days? Kids These
So
Days?
the next
that's
record,
the LP?
I think we've tentatively named it, but I don't want to say the name
Okay.
just for the fact that.
So that's the LP is Kids These Days.
Yeah, right. And so
Right,
that's
that's
the
your
one
long
that's
play.
out.
Okay.
But we're actually recording right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're in the studio right now, or I guess a couple months ago, and then we are coming out with a new LP in early spring.
Why do you think Americana music is just taken off with young people? What do you think what is that about?
I don't really know, to be honest, because you can't really ever put your finger around music, and the truth is pop and that style of music still does really well.
Right.
I think that there's an element of the organicness that really connects with people. That's way different than the tuned vocals and the everything is so perfect.
Right.
We really try to, if we have a quote unquote mess up in the studio, sometimes if it feels right, then it feels right. Mm-hmm. So I like music that's kind of like the soul music that you can feel.
Feels
if somebody
authentic.
goes off pitch, well, that's natural. People do that. The best singers in the world go off pitch. That's fine.
Right.
So I think there's an element of genuineness that comes with Americana music that maybe is not really outlined, I guess, or at the forefront in pop music or in quote unquote perfect music that has a lot of tracks. And I think people like music that feels like humans in a
Right.
band that are playing the music. So I don't know. I think there's an element of songwriting it's kind of cool with Americana music too. It's not. I would say it's a little more weighty. If that
Right.
makes sense. It's a little more where not to knock on any music because I think there's a time and a place for all music. But if you're talking about trucks and
Yes. Dogs.
drinking beer or whatever, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
For a party and a get together. But there's this thing about talking about really tough things. One of my favorite songwriters was a recovering alcoholic, and talking about that process of going through that. And he was so depressed and all this deepness, but then the songs don't really get old because you're there's something that's kind of gripping you. So I don't know. I don't even know if that we've really, hit that nail on the head yet. But that's why I love Americana music.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why other people do too.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I want to ask you, because you're doing, it's such a great place in your career right now, and it's really just sort of the beginning of it. You've been on Letterman, you're touring everywhere, you're on a Nature Valley commercial, your music is, and so what advice would you give young people who are watching this? Maybe some really young people who can't imagine following their dream or have that passion.
Yeah, I think the simple thing is, and like you said, I'm very much at the start. This is a thing that I struggle with still, but it is to just allow yourself to be to make mistakes. Allow yourself, don't be too hard on yourself, and stay true to who you are as a person. And your creativity, stay true to your art and believe in yourself. like, I know that sounds like super cheesy and practical, but I think for me is like writers and musicians and baseball players, everybody's the same. Everybody's insecure about everything. I've always been insecure about my voice, about the way I write, just like not confident really at all in these levels that you say I've had success in.
Yeah.
And it's still like the biggest thing that that beats me up,
Yep.
It's my biggest insecurity too. And so I would just say just know the lies when they're lies and know the truths when they're truths, and go for it. Like, shoot for the stars.
It's awesome.
What's the worst that could happen? Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see what's next for you, and thank you so much for this time. We're gonna be watching.
Cookville. Thanks so much, Becky.
Thank you.
Sweet Tennessee, find me in your hill and in your stream. Sweet Tennessee, color of my soul in memory. Sweet Tennessee, sweet home Alabama.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.